Textbook history describes the Great Pyramid of Giza as a primitive burial mound. However, the physical evidence suggests a different reality. We are looking at a mathematical anomaly that contradicts our standard understanding of ancient engineering. The precision begins with its terrestrial alignment. Without a compass or GPS, the builders oriented the four base edges to true north, south, east, and west, with a margin of error of just 0.05 degrees. There is also a hidden structural feature. While it appears to have four sides from the ground, aerial footage captured during an equinox reveals that the Great Pyramid actually has 8 distinct faces. Each side is slightly bowed inward, a detail only visible under specific lighting from the sky. This terrestrial precision mirrors the sky above. The specific staggered placement of the 3 pyramids at Giza corresponds exactly to the layout of the 3 central stars in Orion's belt. These macro-level alignments indicate that the builders worked from a sophisticated cosmic blueprint, one that mapped the movements of the stars and the dimensions of the Earth long before the advent of modern surveying. To link the monument to Earth, consider the number 43,200, derived from our planet's 25,920-year precession cycle. Multiplying the pyramid's exact height by this scale factor equals Earth's polar radius. Applying it to the base perimeter matches the equatorial circumference with 99.3% accuracy. The existence of a terrestrial scale model shifts the inquiry from mathematical theory to the physical logistics required to execute such a massive blueprint. The construction required the movement of roughly 2.3 million stone blocks. These stones are not uniform. They weigh between 2.5 and 15 tons each. To complete the pyramid within a 20-year time frame, the builders had to set a multi-ton block every 4.5 minutes, 24 hours a day for 2 decades. While popular culture often cites slave labor, recent excavations of worker villages and grave sites near Giza indicate a professional workforce. The evidence shows these men were skilled, salaried citizens who received medical care and a high-protein diet. They used fluid dynamics to manage the weight. By adding a specific amount of water, between 2 and 5%, to the sand in front of their sleds, the builders reduced friction enough to drag massive stones from the Nile with human power. We can identify the human logistics used for transport, but the sheer volume and speed of the final assembly remain at the very limit of physical possibility. A deeper problem arises when we examine the precision of the stone masonry itself. Historical records describe the use of copper saws. However, modern tests on dense granite show that copper tools could only cut the stone at a rate of 4 millimeters per hour. Despite these technical limitations, millions of blocks were fitted together with such precision that even a modern razor blade cannot slide into the joints between them. If tasked with duplicating this masonry today, using the tools available to the Old Kingdom, modern structural engineers find our understanding of ancient technology to be incomplete. Moving from the exterior to the interior reveals a structure that is increasingly difficult to explain as a traditional tomb. The king's chamber contains no hieroglyphs, no burial goods, and no mummy. The room is occupied only by a lidless, roughly finished granite sarcophagus. In 2017, the Scan Pyramids project applied modern physics to the structure. Using muon tomography, scientists utilized cosmic rays to map the density of the solid rock walls. The scan revealed a massive 30-meter-long void situated directly above the Grand Gallery. This space has remained sealed and inaccessible since the pyramid was completed 4,500 years ago. The failure of the tomb theory to account for these massive, unadorned voids has led some researchers toward mechanical and acoustic explanations for the pyramid's design. One such theory suggests the Great Pyramid was a functional machine designed for energy resonance. This is based on the material properties of the granite used inside. These blocks have a high quartz crystal content, which generates a small electrical charge when subjected to mechanical stress, a phenomenon known as the piezoelectric effect. There is also acoustic evidence. The internal chambers resonate at 440 Hz, which aligns with the natural vibration of the Earth. Furthermore, chemical residues found within the sealed shafts indicate biochemical reactions may have occurred inside the structure. While archaeology does not support the idea of an ancient power plant, science has yet to provide a comprehensive explanation for the pyramid's internal acoustics and chemical traces. From a distance, the scale is difficult to process. 147 meters of height, built from 2.3 million individual stones, weighing a combined 6 million tons. The engineers managed a supply line stretching 800 kilometers to Aswan, while maintaining a geometric precision that aligns the entire footprint to true north within 1/15 of a degree. The Old Kingdom was a culture of obsessive record-keeping. We possess their detailed administrative logs for everything from grain yields to worker payrolls, yet their archives are silent on the blueprints of their greatest monument. The actual physical evidence required to build on this scale, the 2-kilometer-long scaffolding ramps or the specialized iron tools, is entirely missing from the archaeological record. The Great Pyramid is defined by this absolute vacuum of documentation, leaving us with a physical masterpiece, but no record of the method. Human psychology struggles with an information vacuum, often leading us to project our own modern technological biases onto these silent stones. Some point to the high quartz content of the granite and the chemical residue in the shafts as evidence of an ancient wireless power plant, effectively imagining the pyramid as a 4,500-year-old Tesla tower. These same gaps in the record have birthed claims ranging from extraterrestrial intervention to the idea that these structures were actually massive silos for grain storage. The interior offers no clear answers. Inside the king's chamber, explorers found only an empty stone box, with no sign of Khufu's mummy, or the treasures typically buried with a pharaoh. This suggests the builders were following a design that required the deliberate erasure of its own operational history. Archaeological finds near Giza have dismantled the myth of slave labor, revealing instead a highly organized city of 30,000 skilled, well-compensated citizens. We know how they handle horizontal transit. Experiments show that adding a small amount of water to the sand ahead of a sledge reduces friction by half, making the movement of multi-ton blocks across the desert physically possible. But lifting 80-ton granite blocks 147 meters into the air is a different challenge. In an era before motorized cranes, every mainstream lift theory eventually collapses under its own weight. A manageable external ramp would dwarf the pyramid itself, requiring millions of tons of additional material. Meanwhile, an internal spiral ramp creates a different failure. The stone casing blocks the sightlines needed to ensure all 4 edges meet perfectly at the top. Mainstream ramp theories fail to explain either the lack of debris or how the engineers maintained such pinpoint geometric accuracy while the structure was obstructed. A more efficient architectural model has emerged, shifting focus from external ramps to a closed-loop system. Under this theory, the builders didn't start with a pyramid shape, but a massive, flat-topped trapezoidal block. This provided a wide, stable deck at the summit. From there, the team carved downward, using the outer mass as a benchmark to ensure the edges met perfectly. This solves the mystery of the missing debris. The millions of tons of excess limestone carved away to reveal the pyramid's final shape were likely recycled to build the other monuments surrounding the Giza Plateau. The construction scaffolding wasn't a separate structure to be discarded. It was part of the stone mass itself, consumed as the final form emerged. Modern scans suggest the builders went to extreme lengths to hide their methods. In 2015, muon tomography detected massive, unexplained voids deep within the stone, completely cut off from the known chambers. These sealed voids and robotic camera footage show a structure designed to keep its internal secrets permanently out of reach. For the Old Kingdom, the Great Pyramid served as a sacred vehicle, a physical transition point built specifically for the pharaoh's passage into the afterlife. This religious motive explains the obsession with a perfect finish. A divine structure had to be untainted, requiring the total removal of every tool mark and every piece of scaffolding used during its creation. The lack of evidence is not a failure of history, but a testament to the engineering. We are looking at a society so ruthlessly efficient that erasing its own tracks was the ultimate design.